Aloha, this is David Buck with Christie's International Real Estate here in Aspen, Colorado. Today we're going to go over the housing stats for September of 2025. We're already in October. I can't believe it. We already had our first snow, and then we wrapped up the final farmers market earlier in the month and had a lot of exciting things going on with the Balloon Festival down in Snowmass this past month, as well as the John Denver Week. Did a video on that if you want to take a look. But now let's dive into the single family homes in Aspen, and we're going to work our way down the Roaring Fork Valley through Glenwood Springs. And once again, we're going to do this in alphabetical order with A at the top for Aspen and W. We're going to wrap up at the end with Woody Creek. So first off, for the single family homes in Aspen, home sales were relatively flat with 7 deals taking place this past month, and there were 7 the year before in 2024. However, the big outlier this month for September stats is the median home price in Aspen was up 66%. A year ago, that was at $12,500,000, and this past month we're at $20,750,000. So that's a wild 66% increase in median home price here in Aspen. It just never ceases to amaze me the prices that home sellers are able to attain here in Aspen. And as far as days on market for a sale, they've dropped. A year ago it was taking 234 days on market, and this past month was only 97 days. That's a 58.5% decrease in days on market. And meanwhile, months of supply were up 3.1%. With 16.4 months. So that's technically a buyer's market, how long it's taking things to sell, but maybe it's worth the wait if you can attain those types of prices. So next we're going to dive into the condos, and there we saw actually the median condo price was down. Was at 3.2 million this past month, and the previous in September of last year is at 4,325,000. That's a 26% decrease. Meanwhile, the numbers of deals were up 40%. A year ago, there's only 5 transactions, and then we saw 7 this past month. And then days on market we're at 124 days, which is well north of the 60 days to tip to a buyer's market. And then months of remaining inventory, we're at 8.8 months. All right, now next up, we're going to cover Basalt, just right down the valley. And there in Basalt, we saw home sales up 100%. There were 8 deals that took place this past month compared to 4 a year ago. However, that median price actually dropped 22.2%. A year ago, that median sales price was $2,142,500, and this past month is at $1,666,000. And meanwhile, it's taking homes in Basalt 155 days on average to sell, and months of supply are at 11.7 months. Meanwhile, as far as condos go in Basalt, there were 4 deals that took place, which was up 33%. Previous year, we saw 3 transactions. That median home price did dip 23.2%, now at $820,000, whereas a year ago was at $1,068,000. And it's right in that teeter-tot position of 60 days on market. Is what it's taking condos to sell in Basalt. So that's kind of a healthy market in my opinion. And that's a wrap for Basalt. Now, next we're going to cover Carbondale. So home sales in Carbondale were flat with 12 deals this past month and also another dozen a year ago. The median home price was down 15.4%. You could get a home now for $1,691,250. There's even some better deals I saw currently in MLS. Feel free to call me if you want to talk about those. And then a year ago, that median home price was $2 million. And days on market in Carbondale are 129 days with 6.9 months of remaining inventory. Meanwhile, there's not a lot of condo product, but there were 3 transactions up 200% from a year ago. There's only 1 deal that took place, and that median condo or townhome price is $897,000. It's taking condos 73 days on average to sell in Carbondale, and months of remaining supply or inventory are at 5.9, so it's just slightly more of a seller's market. Now we're going to head all the way down valley to cover Glenwood Springs. In Glenwood Springs, home sales were up 87.5%. A year ago, there was only 8 deals, and now we saw 15 take place this past month. And we saw a 39.7% increase in that median home price, which is now up to 1,225,000. A year ago, that median sales price was only 877,000. And then as far as days on market, it's taking things longer to sell, but once again, they're getting some nice prices. So with 130 days on average, and then what we're looking at too for months of supply is only 4.2 months. So it's a healthy market where things are moving relatively briskly in Glenwood Springs. That's as far as single family homes go, but for the condo market, sales have dropped 61.5%. A year ago, there were 13 transactions, and we saw only five this past month. And also, that median condo price dropped from 525 to 391,500. That's a 25.4% decrease. And meanwhile, days on market have crept up significantly for condos, going from 49 days to 123 days, which is a 151% increase. Now we're going to cover Missouri Heights, which I love because you just get a lot of bang for your buck, no pun intended, but just like I love the land and the space that you get. And I had a beautiful drive through there this past month in September, loving to see all the trees and colors turn. However, let's dive into the home stats. Now, Missouri Heights, the home stats were flat as far as sales go. There's one transaction that took place, and then a year ago, there's also one. So no change there. However, that median home price, granted, it's quite skewed because there's only one deal. So that one deal a year ago was at 4,375,000, and this past month was only at $1,950,000. Yeah, average days on market, we're at 91 months of supply, we're at 9. Now, we're not going to talk about any condos because we're talking about Missouri Heights. Okay, next up, we're going to talk about Old Snowmass. Once again, there's no condo product, so we're just going to cover the single family homes. Well, Old Snowmass definitely had a slow month because there was not one deal that took place. A year ago, there was one at 7 million, and there's nothing this past month. So it's quite quiet in Old Snowmass. No real estate activity to report. There were two new listings to hit the market, which is dropped from 4 the previous year, but not a whole lot to report there for Old Snowmass. What's obviously a little more dynamic is Snowmass Village because there's a lot more inventory, so there's going to be a lot more deals taking place. So let's dive into the homes and then we'll hit the condos. So in Snowmass Village, home sales were up 400% from a year ago, going from 1 to 5 this past month. That median home price was down just 1.7% from 5.9 million to 5.8 million. And it's taking roughly about 121 days to get a home sold, and months of supply are down to 4.9. So it's kind of a little more of a seller's market there in Snowmass Village. As far as the condos and townhomes go, sales were up 42.9%, going from 7 to 10 deals. However, there was a drop in that median condo price. A year ago, it was at 2.8 million. And this past month, it was at $2,195,000. That's a 21.6% decrease. And meanwhile, days on market are up significantly. A year ago, it was 77 days, and this past month is at 233 days. That's a 202% increase in the median days on market. And there's 6.1 months of supply for condos in Snowmass Village. Now for our final major neighborhood in the Roaring Fork, W is the last in the alphabet, so we're going to touch upon Woody Creek, and there was just not a whole lot that took place in Woody Creek. There were no homes that sold, so there's not a lot of activity for either a home or a condo in Woody Creek. And there was not even a new listing that hit the market, whereas a year ago there was one. I hope you've enjoyed your October so far, and I would really love the fall and the change of seasons here in Aspen and the Roaring Fork Valley. It's been quite beautiful. You got to get out here to see it. However, if you have any questions about real estate here, I'd be glad to help. The buck stops here for all your real estate needs. I can be reached at 808-371-3509. Aloha.